so many people forget you're in the room because of something really unique about you, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you lose sight of that, you're losing all your magic. It's not somebody else's definition of you or somebody else's definition of success or even somebody else's definition of authenticity. It's like this unique package that you are is the magic sauce. And the sooner you figure out what that package is, better off you're going to be.
Hey, Nicole, what do you get when a former corporate CEO and a do-gooding executive walk into a recording studio?
Well, Aaron, nothing, because the two of us are usually on my couch or Zoom, because wine.
You get a podcast created for Gen X women who are bought into the corporate world, but fed up with the BS.
I know, it's how to thrive the 9 to 5 or 6 or 7.
It's career therapy, it's comedy, it's definitely full-on authenticity. Basically, we give you tangible strategies to rise in your career without compromising everything else.
Because work doesn't have to suck.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Because Work Doesn't Have to Suck podcast. Erin here. I am teeing up another interview with an amazing guest, Leigh Brown, and I'm already sort of giggling just saying her name because I'll tell you about who she is, but this whole interview is a vibe. This is an authentic vibe. Like, I will tell you some of the things you'll learn, like I always do, but you most need to join for the vibe. But so Leigh is actually a super successful real estate broker, runs her own business. She's actually an internationally recognized leader in the space. She does a ton of speaking. You'll see why. She's hilarious. She's got this just amazing Southern accent. And she actually has written 3 books. Her first book called Outrageously Authentic. And we talk about a lot of things about how she's a blend of her dad and her mom and how those two come together to have, sort of this authentic success. And we talk about work-life balance and some like super tangible things that she does, but also like a really unique way that she looks at it on both a micro and a macro basis. She also talks about success and what her definition like will really make you think about how you need to think about success that doesn't attach to things that can be taken away from you. We're also going to talk about how she does authentic videos. We're going to play a snippet from one of her videos so you can just see her vibe. And I know most of you are not in real estate, but it's so applicable that how do you grab the attention of your customers, of your teammates, of your executives? Like, you use authenticity. You don't do what everybody else does. You compete in a league of your own. But most of all, you have to listen, and if nothing else, her last story about bucking that and how she casually talks about living in Manhattan and driving out of the city and then driving herself right into a chainsaw company's parking lot and going to ask for a job. Yes, she did that. So without further ado, enjoy the vibe that is Leigh Brown. I want to start with, you're obviously in real estate. You're also a speaker, but you've built this ginormous real estate business, but which most of our listeners are not in. Although maybe some are dabbling there. I don't know.
But maybe a third career job. So if they're not in it, they might be going, okay.
That's true. That's very true. But it's really clear that authenticity has been a big part of your strategy. You even wrote a book called Outrageous Authenticity. So let's just first start with, how did you get into real estate? Was it just, easy peasy decision and you stumble into it?
I was every other child of a realtor. Oh, hell no. I don't want to get in that business. I've watched my dad do it. And my dad, he bumped jobs too, trying to figure out where he belonged because my granddad was a builder. So my dad started for him as a carpenter, and he did not do well under anybody else's instruction, including his own dad. And he bumped around. And then when we were kids, he landed in real estate because it was, may as well try it, which I'm honestly convinced is how most people land in this business of, I haven't really found anywhere else. Well, let's try real estate. And my dad turned out to be really good at it because he's so lovable and wonderful. But because he was always showing a house and hopping up from the table to answer the phone and always distracted by real estate, I didn't want to do it. except for the one time I remember I was glad he was in real estate was when Hurricane Hugo hit North Carolina. The hurricane had come 200 miles inland. We lived on a farm, and of course we were on well, and when the power was out, there was no water, and my dad was representing the builder at the time. So we loaded up all these milk jugs in the car and went to the model home to get water so that we could function in the house. And that was the time I was glad he was in real estate. But other than that, I hated it. When I finished high school, I was like, I'm gonna go do something else. And I landed in New York selling properties, and I did not belong in Manhattan for all the obvious reasons. And then I started selling chainsaws because why not? And I was the only woman on the sales force, and I was very good at it, but I hated corporate life because I was being told what to do. And I was whining on the phone with mom and dad one time, I don't like this. Hey, and they're like, just get in real estate, just do it. And I had gotten my license a couple years prior at night, just in case. So I said, well, screw it. I've already tried managing bars, working on Wall Street, selling chainsaws. Why not real estate? And then it just stuck. So I landed in it out of I have to do something for more than 5 minutes, and I have to do something that's productive. And my dad was a wreck. I mean, he's so disorganized. And I swooped in. I was like, oh, I can fix you because, like many women, I can fix the men in my life. So I came in, tried to clean him up, and I just really enjoyed the business. And what I love most 25 years later is all the pathways of the business. And so for somebody who's very ADD and always wants to try new things, real estate's a good space for that because you can always go try something different.
Did you have success right away? I mean, was it sort of like, you were like a rocket ship to the moon, or was it a challenge at first?
I actually was successful very quickly, but it's because my dad was my mentor. And when I got into the business, most people, when they get in, are turned loose. Hey, go call your cousins and your friends and see what you do. And if you have a question, you call me. And my dad did not allow that. I had to live in his hip pocket. He toted me around to every appointment. I had to listen to all the phone calls. I wasn't allowed to speak because he wanted me to absorb before I got involved with somebody's largest financial instrument because he took it so seriously.
Mhm.
And by the time he turned me loose, I did have success very quickly, but I had been trained in a way most people don't have the opportunity to receive training. And that was on the heels of having already been in sales. And when you've already been in sales, there are transferable soft skills. I had to learn the hard skills of real estate, and it was easy because I was willing to listen. And I don't diminish that because a lot of people build themselves up to the point where they think they are infallible and they don't listen to the lessons of those who have gone before and made all the mistakes. My dad's whole point was, if you can screw up at it, I've screwed up at it. Let me show you how not to screw up. And so I said, I don't want to waste time or money, so let's go.
Let's go. It's funny you say you took it so seriously, and I did want to sit on that. And I'm not sure if your personality is similar to your father's or it's different, but this concept of, I often say business is serious. That doesn't mean you have to be. And I'm curious, taking it seriously versus you are, we'll talk about your YouTube and Instagram videos in a second, like you're not serious necessarily, or what would be perceived as not serious, right? You're sort of tough love, fun, free will and talking kind of person. Were you always like that in real estate? Or did you sort of find your way to, oh my gosh, people really want something different. They want something that's not so glazed over. They want something that's more authentic.
Well, my dad is super lovable. He's the person, if you met him within 25 seconds, you'd be hugging him. And he's currently, because he's shrinking, which is a feature in his side of the family, he's down to about 5'2" now. So he's more huggable and lovable than he ever was. And he wears his little Vietnam veteran hat and has a little walking stick. And so he just attracts the love. But he did that even before he aged into the even more lovable version. And my dad's life vision is, I will believe the best in people until they prove me wrong.
Mm.
I'm the person who's a little more like my mother. I'm like, I'd like to believe the best in all y'all. I have questions. And so my mother is the balance, and my dad, little cheerful, happy-go-lucky. And it's not that my mom's negative, but she's very eagle-eyed.
Mm-hmm.
As a natural introvert, I used to be the person who always sat in the background, but I had to train myself out of that in sales. And I knew how to create those connections because I'd watched my dad all these years. But by the same token, I would have my mom's little question mark in the back. So I'm a real balance of the two of them. But that does make you successful in the business world because if you're able to connect while asking questions, you can actually serve people really effectively. And what my secret sauce has become is the way that humor breaks down defenses. And we all know that if there's two truth tellers in any society, it should be, not always is, but it should be comedians and pastors, because pastors are speaking to their audience. And so they should be very truthful, which is a whole different conversation. Now, that's not happening right now. But anyway, and so then you have the comedians who, if you go back to all the feudalism in the very old days, there was always a court jester, and the jester wasn't about jokey. It was about bringing the truth through humor. And I have found that to be wildly effective in real estate simply because houses are so imbued with emotion. If you don't get somebody to giggle about something, they're unable to absorb the truth of the situation so that they can get their best results, so that they can move on. And I have found that in today's world, people are afraid of humor because they don't want to offend somebody. But I mean, so much of humor is just how we live. It's the Seinfeld humor, the real life scenarios we all go through. And I'm always comparing houses to relationships, which if there's one thing humans have in common, it's the delicate dance of relationships and how they go poorly and they go well. And we have all these things that we can find as connective tissue. And once you get somebody to laugh about that, oh, then they're open to what you have to go on. And it's not about a lack of seriousness. It's about finding a way to reach people.
I love that. Actually, I'd love to. We're gonna play a clip here of you speaking. We'll just pause for a second. I'll have Rachel put in of you speaking in one of your videos about just simply selling a house with smoke in it. I loved this video. So cue the video.
How do you sell a smoker's house in Concord, North Carolina? Now, first of all, you're thinking, but Leigh Brown, people still smoke? It's true that they do because it is an addictive substance. And frankly, it causes people to be highly productive. So some of them just never let go of the habit. And here in Cabarrus County, we do have a lot of folks who still smoke. And if you're thinking, well, that's awful, stay out of my comments and don't be ugly about it, because if you've never lived with addiction, you shouldn't be so rude about it.
Yeah, we're back. What I love about this video, and I'm sure you have a bazillion, you're like, this is just like, really, you picked this. You take a topic that is real, it's a real issue. You are compassionate about it, but you're also a little bit not compassionate. You show your true colors, you're a little snarky. Like, we could tell in that video, like, you're probably not a smoker, but you understand that, that some people are and why they are, and that you have to deal with it. And I just love, just giving this example to our listeners, because they may say, well, I'm not on social media. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not what. This is just an example of how authenticity just helps. Like, I sat and watched that whole damn video. Like, most people would not. If you went on there and you're like, let me give you 3 tips, and you're all sort of, right. Never would have listened. But you were so human. You were so authentic. So you wrote a whole book. Your very first book was called Outrageous Authenticity. What prompted you? Did you have an epiphany, or like, what was it that was the impetus behind that?
Well, all right. So there's 2 things that happened. I needed a book far sooner than I wrote one, but I am very much 87 irons in the fire. So it's hard to sit down and focus on it. And coming out of the Great Recession in real estate, there were so many people in real estate saying, how did you get so successful? Real estate's been in the tank. It's been awful. How did you keep growing? Because I grew through the recession, and I grew because I was telling people the truth. And at the time, it didn't occur to me that was unique in real estate, because remember, I've been raised by somebody who so honorable, so truthful, so good, so lovable. I just felt like most people were like my dad, and they're not. But my secret sauce had been, at the time of great unemployment and people just in panic, I would sit down with them, and we were, Charlotte, North Carolina's real estate market was a slower decline than areas like Phoenix or Vegas or Orlando that just fell off the cliff. We never were a bubble market. So we eased down. And then when it came back, we eased up. Just not super exciting here, which is why we're Charlotte, North Carolina, and not just Charlotte, which is hilarious. Other big cities don't have to include their state. But anyway, when we were having these conversations and I'd meet with somebody and their house was underwater based on what they owed versus the market value, I had on my conference room table a box of Kleenex, a bottle of Pepto-Bismol. And I would say to them, pick your poison. Because what we're about to talk about here is painful and you're going to cry or throw up or need a drink. So you go with whatever you wanted to. And again, a little bit of humor, but a lot of truth, and their defenses would come down and I would tell them the truth. And I get all the business. And at the end of the deal, I'd ask them, why me? You could have used thousands of other realtors. Why did you pick me? And they said, without exception, you told us the truth. And I realized that it was the unvarnished truth with that little touch of humor and empathy. It says, I get what's going on. I get how you're going to react to it. That supercharged my business. Well, then I was being asked on all these real estate conferences and stages, tell us how do you get there? Because everybody wants a silver bullet. They all want magic. Of course, why Ozempic is so popular right now. And so while they're looking for magic, I realized the magic wasn't anything about the transactions or the mechanics of real estate. The magic was in me being myself, telling the truth in a really relatable way. And I was at a real estate event, and my dear friend Patrick Lilly, who I just love as much as life itself, he and his husband live they were in New York City. Now they live a little bit outside the city, and they're just such great humans. And I was really upset at this conference because I was trying to be other people at the conference. It had jumped out of my head that I was there for my successes in my way, not for their successes in their way, because they were all successful differently. And I was just turning into a little version of myself. And Patrick, who, is such a good guy, chases me into the ladies' room, which I think the unique opportunity that a gay man can do that a straight man probably can't get away with. And so he chases me in there, and we're standing in the window at the end of this New York City hotel bathroom. So you can know it's about this big.
Right.
And he got right in my space. He's like, what is wrong with you? You're here not to be them. You're here to be yourself. You have forgotten it. I don't know what happened in this room. And of course I was looked up all my life because these were like my real estate heroes. These were like people been high flying for decades, and I'm a little country bumpkin and I don't even belong here. So I was sitting here tearing myself up until Patrick did this to me. And he didn't do it in some soft, oh, I feel you. No, it was boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
and
you said together.
And that's where the title came from, is that one conversation in the ladies' room with Patrick in New York City. And I came back out of that room like, okay, that's why I'm here. And the title came up and the book came out, and now it's in, I think, the 7th printing, and it's 2000. It came out in 16. So I guess the book's 9 years old now. And the message is still very applicable because I found that so many people forget you're in the room because of something really unique about you, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And if you lose sight of that, you're losing all your magic. It's not somebody else's definition of you or somebody else's definition of success or even somebody else's definition of authenticity. It's like this unique package that you are is the magic sauce. And the sooner you figure out what that package is, better off you're going to be. But caveat, you all need a Patrick in your life to when you forget, because we all forget. And I blame these for that, Erin. I blame social media for us forgetting who we are. Because we spend so much time trying to create a version of ourselves that may or may not be the real deal. And you have this opportunity to connect if you won't lose it. So make sure you have a Patrick.
Yeah. Well, I try to be that Patrick for people, right? This is my whole brand. I'm just saying. Hey guys, Erin here. Stop. Do not do it. Don't fast forward. I have something too important. I have a couple of very passive aggressive questions to ask you that you don't want to miss. Here they are. 1, do you find yourself often comparing yourself to others? Like, they work harder than me. They get noticed more than me. They have better luck than me. They're smarter than me. Or do you also just feel exhausted from having to always work as hard, if not harder, than everybody else to stand out and succeed? I know you have these challenges. We all do. And this is why I wrote the 50% rule. And I know you need to read another book like you need a hole in the head. But I'm telling you, this book and this rule, I'm obsessed with it. And it has changed my life. It has changed the lives of others around us. And it has also been the formula for success behind so many successful people. Savannah Bananas, Hamilton, Weird Al Yankovic. The 50% rule is the simplest shortcut to stop comparing, stop copying, stop chasing other people, and like literally compete in your league of your own. There isn't a day that doesn't go by where I stop myself and I'm like, oh, she did a talk that I wish I could do. She's got more. No, it doesn't matter because we don't compete in the same league. I compete in a league of my own because I am constantly 50% ruling things. So if you're interested in this concept, which by the way is more fun as a team sport, but at least start with yourself. You cannot miss this book. It's not only powerful, it's really freaking fun to read. That is always my number one goal. It was my number one goal with my first book. It's my number one goal with the 50% rule. I want to make it enjoyable to read it. Why? So that you read it. So if you feel like you are stuck with these comparison cramps or just all the symptoms that I talk about in the book of sleep running syndrome, self-doubt gout, and pioneer paralysis, and well, you have to read the book to find out more, then just go buy the darn book. Easiest way, go to Amazon, search the 50% rule, and I cannot wait to hear how you 50% rule things.
I'm wondering if you, I think part of the issue that you had that day and others have, and I'm curious on your take on this, is that there's sort of this feeling like it couldn't possibly be that easy. Like I think it feels like we're always conditioned so that if it's not hard, it's not right. If it's not hard, it's luck. Was that part of it? Do you think that's part of it for some people that they're sort of like, it can't, not that being authentic is easy, right? Because there's a strategic angle to it. And like that example you gave when you came to the table, like you stopped and you thought about it. You didn't think, I'm just going to tell the truth. You're like, oh, and how can I bring both levity but in humor to it? And you had sort of your props and stuff. But so it's not easy, but it's so much easier than, oh, I've made 100 phone calls today. I disciplined the heck out of it. Do you think that's part of the issue that people are like, it can't be that damn easy, and so they sort of look for something else? Well, I mean, I'm going to use Ozempic as an example because it worries the heck out of me that we're in a society looking for easy answers. It's not a good tool for some people, and it was designed as a good tool for diabetics. But we all know that there are people that have jumped on the bandwagon because it looks like the easiest pathway, and it's also one of the most expensive pathways. So I'm very worried about what's happening financially to people who are chasing something they don't need to chase. And the parallels are very real when you look at that scenario, because in real estate, people will go and pay $4,000 a month to a coach that they haven't vetted, but it sounded good. I saw a good ad. Let me go do this. This is going to be the secret, and I'm going to sell a bunch of houses, and it'll all be great because that looks easy. And drain their bank accounts instead of having this personal conversation with yourself. Because let's be real, you and I both know the hardest part about chasing this authenticity piece is you have to have a little heart-to-heart talk with yourself about what is unique about me, what's likable, what's not likable, where are people going to move away from me, what's going to attract them. And frankly, that's kind of painful. It's kind of like the Ozempic conversation. You have to have a painful conversation with yourself about the steps that you're taking every day and the food that goes into your mouth and how do those things correlate with your general health. And if you're not willing to have those conversations, of course you want the easy path. Same thing in real estate. Agents are so panicked about not being what everybody thought they were supposed to be. They're watching House Hunters. It ain't real. And so they're trying to figure out how to be something they're not, instead of realizing that if you just sit down and have a conversation with yourself about your experience and your pathways and your family and your history and all the holes you've stepped into and all the mountains you accidentally climbed, that there's really something special here. And it doesn't cost anything more than time and introspection, but that's a very expensive price to pay for some people. And I get that. It's why the therapy industry is so big now. Do you think part of it is this fear of looking
stupid looking odd, looking different? Do you think that's the sort of the ego, the fear of that?
We're not in a space where all kinds of different are equally accepted. But frankly, that's the story of humanity, right? We're not always going to connect to everybody. And there's a lot of people who aren't equipped to take criticism. They weren't raised to deal with pain. And I blame the parenting generation that did not get the parenting response that I did. If you fell down on the ball field, the coach and every parent said, get up and rub some dirt in it. Because that was how we dealt with a bloody knee. Rub some dirt in it, keep going. Well, now we don't rub some dirt in it. We put all the antibiotics on it and we put all the bandages on and, oh, sit down, sweet pumpkin, and you don't have to do anymore. And we've cushioned ourselves from pain, which also means we cushion ourselves from the reality that none of us is perfect. But your imperfections are the coolest thing about you. When you're willing to say, I have no idea how to do this, people will lean in and say, well, I got you then. Let me show you what I know. You let them be the expert for a minute. They will bring you up with them. And then they're going to say, well, what can you help me with? And you say, well, I have an expertise in this and let me share this. And they say, oh, that's amazing. And then you wind up collaborating on a whole different level. And it's so much fun. It's so much fun when you're willing to let other people pour in, and they can't pour in until you know what your gaps are.
I love it. I'm going to get a little bit, I don't want to say theoretical, but I want to zoom out a little bit. I want to talk about work-life balance. And like, I hate this conversation because it's always there is none, or it's integration, or do you have any, but you are so unique and different. My guess is you have a tough love sort of set of advice you could give us in this area. Oh, and you have a planner too.
I love the Emily Leigh Simplified Planner. I've been using her planner for years because I like it very much. And this is a whole, which tool do you use? The one you'll use. I mean, you buy whichever one you'll use. And I like it because I can keep all of my future topics in one little page here at the front for working my future topics. And then I have my mileage for running. I can track here. And then I have what I have to do every day. This is, to me, the secret. And mine's, it's really nothing fancy. And I know everybody wants some cool app or some special secret mantra. It's not. I have this really cute little one. I like how it looks. It's pretty. And
you like pretty things.
I have a thing there. And it's also fairly inexpensive. It does come from Target, so it's not like it's top of the line, but it's, Target's fancier. Well, that's what works for me, but it's not, there's never going to be balance. And I have accepted that there's never going to be balance. I can accept, though, that my life balances out like this all the time. It's a balancing instead of a balance. Mm-hmm. This weekend, my husband and I are going on a trip. So we'll be gone Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Well, I don't usually get 4 days in a row with my husband. That's going to be a lot of together time, which means it's a makeup for the fact that we run like crazy people over the Christmas and New Year season, trying to handle his family and my family and kids that are in college and work stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff. So if I were living a balanced life, I would have a set amount of time with him every day. Well, that ain't real. So I'm going to have 4 days where we'll have a great time, and then we'll come home and go do our things because we'll be tired of each other for a minute, and that's fine too. Because you also have to accept that there is no perfection like your head has designed. So I know it's not perfect, and I just look at this as a balancing and a management piece. I have a hard time as a workaholic turning this awful little device off. But last night, while I was fixing supper, I cut the thing off so I could get my daughter to talk to me because she's 20. And I know very well that if my device is on or even in the periphery, she's sitting here scrolling.
She'll do the same.
The only way I can get her to unscroll is for me to turn everything off, and then I can get her for a minute. And I don't get her for long. She's 20. For me, that balancing looks like taking what I can get and making the most of it. Mm-hmm. No, I'm not every mom. Most kids would never want me as their mom because my kids call me extra. And I said, well, isn't that better than being basic? And then they get mad because I'm using their language. And then I tell them that nobody wants to be mid, and they basically throw up in their mouths a little bit. When you start understanding that you're gonna ebb and flow, and that's okay. And if you're in the business world, and especially when you travel, I've traveled for the last 14 years to train and speak to people. So I would be gone for 2 nights in a row, and I could go back. I'd like to go back and edit that some. I wish I had stayed home more when they were tinies, because I can't get that back now.
Mm.
But the flip side of that coin, where I don't yell at myself, my kids had traveled on 4 continents before they were out of middle school because I took them on so many speaking trips. My kids are seasoned global travelers. They don't blink at another culture or another language. They just kind of roll with it. And that's a gift I couldn't have given them if I'd been so focused on this perfect calendar, perfect schedule. And letting go of that has been something that's allowed me to grow and allowed them to see life in a way that I think will benefit them long haul. It might not. They may be in therapy because of me later. No will. But I will say that day to day, I know there's things that have to get done. This had to happen because we made this appointment. I have a commitment on my calendar. It's on my calendar as a must happen. And then I have all the other things that I'd like to get done. And I look at those as coke. And I just coat my day with the things that I'd like to get done as long as the bricks get laid. And that's what I work on.
Fuck. The stuff that goes in between, tub and maybe.
There ain't well to do, frankly. Nobody likes to caulk the tub because you people can't draw a straight line. If it's married to an engineer, so that's his job in the house because he loves straight lines.
You definitely don't. How about success? Has your definition of success, I think a lot of people that are listening is mostly, Gen X, people who are sort of questioning, am I chasing the right success? Any words of wisdom in that elusive topic?
Yes, I love being a Gen X, a forgotten generation. What's up? Nobody knows we're here. It's pretty cool. Boomers and millennials fight, and we just get shit done. It's kind of amazing. But I will say this, in my medium years, success is a different definition than it was 15 years ago. Because 10 years ago and 15 years ago, I was chasing number one. I wanted to be the number one, the top of the pile. I wanted the ranking and the money that came with it. And I got there. I chased it. I was number one and the money came in. And then I realized pretty quickly, my husband and I bought some investment properties, but it didn't fill us up. You have to know what fills you up. And turns out money didn't fill us up. And we knew as a family, what do we need to pay our bills and do our extras? Because we love to travel. We're experienced people instead of stuffed people. All right, so how do we get our experiences? All right, maybe I don't have to sell every house in Charlotte to get there. And once I was able to let go of being number one, it just works itself out. And so now I have different goals. We still try to buy one investment property a year because we like to have some good stability in our finances, but we're about stability instead of stuff. I look at what's happening in California. I look at what's happened in Western North Carolina. And when you see somebody's entire life, when you define it in terms of stuff, so not the real life, but the life that we think we've defined, and it's reduced to ashes, you can't get it back. And then in the North Carolina mountains, the flood, it looks like your stuff is still there, but it's not because it's destroyed and it's covered in silt and it's got to be ruined. It's just gone. And we looked at that. We're like, if you define yourself by those things, it looks like it's gone, but we don't define ourselves that way. And to me, success looks like, how could you keep going after something like that? And if your life would be shut down because of those events, something's got to get recalibrated. And when you recalibrate it, success looks like different things. Like, I love that my parents come over for supper every Sunday night because I'm lucky. I still have both my parents. I will do everything I can to preserve those Sunday suppers because I know I have a limited time span on that. That's just life. It's not anything doomsday or negative. It's understanding the constraints of time. And to me, success looks like spending time with my parents and getting all the stories out of them that I can instead of stuff.
Right.
And that's where I am. And I wasn't there 15 years ago. But where I'll be 15 years from now, I may be in a camper somewhere roaming around the country, which anybody knows me knows that's a total lie because I'm a Western girl. I need to have somebody change the sheets. I could never live in a camper, just full disclosure. But in theory, I could pick up and move around. And what I tell people all the time is, this is part of that authentic conversation with yourself, introspection. What would make you be able to sit down at night and say, all right, I'm good today? Anybody that's chasing dollars, you can't stop at night and say, I'm good today. You can't, because money doesn't allow you to sit and say, I made it, because it's a continual pathway. Once you figure out what the number is, though, and people do want to have a number because, hey, inflation, cost of living, you got to eat, you got to pay your bills, totally get that. But there's a number where once you hit it and you got that little plus, you can sit down on the couch and read a book, look at Netflix, talk to your husband, take a nap, whatever. That's where success is, and it's so individual. And in fact, in real estate, what makes my heart so sad is so many people in this business feel like success looks like numbers, and it's sales, and it's dollars, and you find out real quickly those don't fill you up.
Hey, Erin here. So I know we talk often about this concept of authenticity as a secret weapon to success. I swear to you, my authenticity was literally the number one thing that helped me become both the CEO of a 9-figure company at the age of 42, but also that helped me lead an insanely successful financial and cultural turnaround of that same company. But I get that authenticity as a secret weapon kind of sounds fluffy, like fluffy unicorn doo-doo that leaves you wondering, what do I actually wake up tomorrow and do differently without looking stupid or getting fired? This is exactly why I put together the Authenticity Playbook for you. It gives you 10 plays or really thought starters that are simple, actionable things that will help you up your career and leadership game. To get your free Authenticity Playbook, go to beauthenticinc.com/playbook. Again, that's beauthenticinc.com, just the letter B, authentic.inc.com/playbook. Or to make it simple, just scroll down to the show notes and we've got you covered with a link there too. Speaking of things taken from you, so you obviously are very near and dear to the floods and the hurricane impact in Carolina. And you didn't not do anything. You stepped up and you created an entire not-for-profit Patriot.
What's one more full-time job? I mean,
so many people listening, I'm sure, have their hearts in what's going on, whether it's the hurricanes that constantly come through and hurt us, or what's going on in LA right now. How? What drove you? Like, how did you do this?
well, there's a history of people in real estate love being do-gooders. That's just our general human nature. As somebody who's been in the business, I have my little moving truck. Many realtors do. You've seen them around town. Buy or sell with me. Use this truck for free. Every time there'd been a hurricane,
I've never seen that.
you never seen one? Okay. Now that I've said it, you're going to see them around town. Just for the record.
Okay.
When you were pregnant, you started seeing pregnant people everywhere, but you never noticed them. Then you had your kids and you never see one again. You're going to see a little moving van. They're all 15-foot, little Fords. We buy them from this one company. It's a whole thing. Well, every time there'd been a storm, I would reach out to my client base and say, hey, we're going to run supplies to the coast, bring us water, flashlights, cleaning kits. We're familiar with hurricane damage at the coast. When this one hit at end of September in 2024, hurricane's coming. Okay, it's in the mountains. That's weird, kind of off, whatever. We'll do our usual gooder thing and we'll set up our drive. So we set up our drive. And as the news came out, it was just astonishing to see the breadth and the scale of this storm. It's so different, so big, so odd, geographically in a weird place. And the outpouring from my past clients and from my community and from my online sphere just got whoosh. And we went from my 15-foot van to a local shoe company donated us a semi. We filled that semi up. We overloaded it to the point where a fellow real estate broker, Cindy Hansen, she's a competitor down the street. We were filling the truck in her parking lot because I'm in downtown. I don't have parking and she does just outside of downtown. And the truck punched a hole in her asphalt. That's how heavy this truck was. So he's still speaking to me though. We're still good friends. But we built the thing up and we sent it to the mountains and the need was just exploding because of the loss of infrastructure. And I knew what I had to do was turn off my real estate hat and focus on disaster relief, thinking it would be, a week or two, and that would be my piece I could contribute and I could move on. And I couldn't move on. It's a season. I I've surrendered to the Lord's call. I have been called into this, is all I can say. And luckily, my agents here, they keep selling and the phone keeps ringing. So as the owner, my agents can continue to do the day-to-day practice of real estate so that I can do relief work. And then it turned into its own 501c3. And then just this morning, we've announced we're actually rebuilding an entire house for a family who lost their home.
That's incredible.
People they want to support if you give them away. And I'll just say that all of this goes to me being authentic and visible for the last 20 years online. Because I would ask these people, I'm like, you don't know me. You're sending me money through the internet. You've never met me. What is wrong with you people? Because I have my mother's little question mark in the back. And apparently they're all like my dad because they all said, we can tell by watching your videos that you're genuine. We can tell you're a good person. We can just tell. I'm like, but can you really? I mean, it's a burden. And I have receipts. I will show people all the receipts because I'm very alert to how much trust strangers are putting into me when they send me their dollars to take care of people in need. And we have done that by a scale I didn't expect to be in the middle of. And here we are. So now I'm trying to figure out, my organization is receiving requests to help in California. And I'm like, I love that y'all think we're that organized, that we're only 3 months old. So still trying to figure this out, but let me see what I can do. If I can find the Leigh Brown in California who wants to Patriot Relief out there, I know what to tell them now because I could educate them, but I can't get on my plane and go fix California. I'm still working on North Carolina, but it's all about the society we're in is desperate to connect. Desperate. If there's anything COVID did to all of us, it was make us hungry for real connections, make us hungry for hugs, and hungry for a cup of coffee with a friend and not worry about masks and social distancing and you're a bag of germs and you're going to kill me if I meet you. And we had to get out of that fear space to realize how much we needed each other. And you see, after these natural disasters, people are looking for a way to roll their sleeves up and dig in, but they have to know how to make that connection. And it's a choice each one of us makes with this social version of ourselves. Are you going to be well, hello, who do you know that needs to buy or sell? The little fake realtor version, or even well, I'm always telling my son, he's 18, like, don't date a girl that does this on Instagram. They said duck lips girl. I'm worried about the duck lips girls and they make the little fake cleavage. I'm like, that ain't who you want to date. You want to date a girl with some meat on her bones, knows how to work. I mean, let's be careful here. But you're looking for real and the public is looking for real. And I know it in my real estate business because they come up to me and say, thank you for the work you're doing in Western North Carolina. And I'm like, well, I'm one of many. There's so many people doing work. I'm grateful to have the opportunity. And then they say, we want to talk to you about selling our house. And I say, I'm excited for that. So it all ties in if at the core, you're telling the truth. And that's what authenticity is.
I love it.
It was really big interconnected loop. And at some point, I'll write a book about it.
Your fourth book. All right. Well, I have just 2 questions left for you. The first one's the bigger one. So we call it our Buck That segment. So what is a time that you buck the norm? You said buck that, which is pretty much your entire life, but we're looking for a story when, you buck normal and great things happened.
I have to talk about selling chainsaws and being the only woman on the sales force for Husqvarna, which is premium chainsaws, weed trimmers, and lawnmowers. I only landed in that because I hated working in Manhattan. I hated Wall Street. I didn't belong. And for those that want to know my age, I can give you a clue. When I lived in Manhattan and I lived at 37th and Lex, we used to go to Windows on the World every Wednesday night for cocktails. And I've told that to my kids and they think I'm making it up. And then I remember
I don't know Windows on the World. Is it like a long gone?
It's at top of the World Trade Center.
Okay.
So my kids are born after 9/11. They think I'm making all that up because to them, the Twin Towers are a part of the history books. It's very weird to think about. But I hated that life, made great friends, loved the experience, hated being in New York. And so I was actually at home one weekend. And as I was out driving on 77, I saw the headquarters for Husqvarna, their North American headquarters in Charlotte. So I drove in, went to the reception.
No,
They
you
all
didn't.
had sales.
You didn't.
And the sales manager came around the corner. He's like, yep. He the woman on the sales force, and he's still one of my dear friends today. In fact, I've been his realtor now for a long time.
I'm sure.
And I love him. And he parked me in inside sales so I could learn the equipment before they shipped me off to Iowa. And when I got to Iowa, I discovered that, first of all, nobody moves to Iowa on purpose. And people are, you moved here? Because they were very surprised that anybody would choose Iowa. Of course, now it's a net importer of people because the world's changed. But I would go to visit a dealer, and these people hadn't seen a woman in 25 years, and they would stare right at my chest. And I always wore my hair in a bun because it was long brown back then, before I had to cover the gray. And I would wear these giant oversized shirts. And my boss was like, why do you dress like this? And I was like, I'll show you. When we walked, and I was like basically burning a hole in my shirt. And I pushed his order across the counter at him. He just signed it. We walked out. My boss was like, you just got a huge order. And he almost stared a hole in your shirt. And I'm like, absolutely. And all works out great because it's just a love thing, right? It's not like it's something you get all hurt about. You just say, hey, it's the space we're in. Just roll with it, make the most of it. And it was an unexpected space for sure. But I enjoyed the heck out of it. I learned so much being on the road and getting to know people in different places because I was single when I moved to Iowa, didn't even know anybody.
Mhm.
And I land out there, I get an apartment, and I've been in all 99 counties in Iowa, and I never ran for president. That's like my claim to fame, but you see things differently when you're out of your comfort zone. So was living outside the South. Like, I didn't count Manhattan because that's such a weird
Mm.
blip, the planet. But going from the South to the Midwest, I
Mhm.
discovered that it was just a difference of how you connect to people. And so your audience is either going to be horrified by this or intrigued by this. So in the South, we are so used to having people of other races around because it's just how we all grew up. We all rode the school bus together. We all lived together. Everybody's good. Well, I moved to Iowa, and I think there were 3 Black people that lived in Iowa in the 90s when I moved there. And one of them was one of my dear friends. He lived in my apartment complex. And then we started dating. Well, he was a basketball coach at Drake. And I went to one of the Drake games with him. And you would think that everybody was like, and I was like, well, this is intriguing. And we went out to eat, and I was like, there he is. This is weird. Why is everybody staring at us? He's like, what do you mean? Why are they staring at us? I'm like, I don't. And I was so clueless to
Mm.
why people would thought that was odd. And because that's, we were just wonderful friends. And then he's been dead now for 20 years, died of a brain tumor. He's a great, great guy. But it was just this weird perspective. I didn't see what other people saw because that wasn't how I was raised. I was raised to see other people as, are they of good character or not? That's the only criteria my parents ever had for friends or people we spent time with. And to have it in a different space where you don't know anybody, it all looks different. It's wild and crazy. Wouldn't trade a minute of that experience. Wouldn't trade any of those things in life. And I don't know if I was really bucking anything as much as just
You
land
so much. I mean,
you land in new spaces and you just kind of land there and roll with it.
you had me I'm on the highway and I pulled over into a company and watched that they were hiring, and then some. I can't help but picture you, which is one of my top 3 movies of all times. Like, I just picture you, Chris Burley, Tommy Boy, selling brake pads.
Burley, what a loss to the world. Talk about comedians who could speak the truth. And in the motivational speaker space, I live in a van down by the river. How many times do you and I tell that joke? Oh, I live in a van down by the river.
Yeah, I can totally picture. I love that story. Thank you for sharing that. Before I ask the final question, where's the best place for people to follow you and connect with you?
Well, I'm all over the socials, but you should make sure you're following the little blue check people because I have so many scammers out there now that I raise money for a nonprofit. So
Oh,
I can't talk to you about crypto. That's not me. I don't understand.
and a name like Leigh Brown, LeighBrown, is unfortunately not the most uncommon.
Right, because there's an Australian rugby player who's named Leigh Brown. I'm glad he's retired now because now some of Google page 1 I can get onto, but that brother controlled Google page one forever. And now he's coaching and it's very irritating. But anyway, I will just say that you could find me as leighbrown.com or any of the socials. Instagram is my favorite. I'm learning to embrace TikTok and kind of hoping Kevin O'Leary buys it so we don't lose that wonderful space to the changes in legislation. But in general, just reach out and connect to me because I love to connect to people.
I love it. I love it. All right, last question, super easy one. What's one last tip you can give our listeners to make work suck less?
Get up at the same time every day. Because the amount of discipline you have in your work life starts with your alarm clock. And if you get up when you feel like it, you are never going to feel like working and you're not going to feel like you drove yourself towards some kind of conclusion. So I don't care if your alarm is 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock, set a time and then start. Everything changes when you learn how to start right.
I love that. We all need to hear that post-holiday season 2, and it's tough to get back into that. So it's a great tip. I love it. Well, thank you, my dear. It was so good to share your outrageous authenticity and your humor and your energy with our group. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me on the show. It's good to see you remotely, and I can't wait to see you in person sometime.
Hey, it's Erin with a teeny request. If you have ever gotten any value from this podcast and you'd like us to stick around, plus you want it to continue to grow so we can kind of swindle bigger and more knowledgeable guests to join us and to keep providing you with tangible and inspiring actions you can take to achieve the career and life you deserve, could you please just take 1 minute to leave us a rating and a review? Those reviews go a long way in attracting guests to the show, and candidly, they really make Nicole and I's day. We see you. We really do. So when you have the time and inspiration, we'd love to see a rating and review from you. Thank you.